following program is classified G. It's suitable for all ages.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on Business Best. This is a platform where we showcase the best in the business, and we will be introducing to you people who have excelled in their particular field in order to showcase their latest developments in their respective industry. Now today on the show we will be particularly talking about how to become a global citizen in this 21st century. Now, for example, if you take a teenager right now, you might experience or you might get from them that they've probably worked around 15 to 17 jobs within a span of 5 years' time. And that's because they need to explore. It's their trial and error period, and they're trying to figure out things in life, and they are exposed to a lot in the environment. So that's what we are going to talk about today, like with the technological advancements and also everything being automated. Very soon, a physical location will also not be relevant very soon. So with that, we will be talking about the International School of Western Australia, or ISWA, who will be developing students' skills in order to be world ready. So with that, I would like to invite not a very new guest. He has been on the show previously as well, Dr.Kithsiri Edirisinghe, who is the owner of the IIHS as well, and also the Vice President of ISWA. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us on the show. Now, last time on the show, we spoke about IIHS, but today we are here to talk about ISWA. So why don't you tell us, why did you choose Australia as a country to be introduced here in Sri Lanka?
It's good to be back on the show, Shanali. Australia is an amazing country. If you look at the Australian history, within 200 years, less than 200 years, they have become the world leaders in many fields. Like if you take education, obviously it's sports, aviation, agriculture, mining, defense, politics, you name it, they are in the top 10. And how have they gone into this kind of excellence in everything what they do is through education and training. So people would move into Australia to travel. Then they go there to study, sometimes to work and sometimes live. So all around the country, all around the world, people move into Australia. So there is an attraction in Australia. One thing is the landscape. It's a beautiful landscape. They have converted into the beaches are amazing. And most importantly, the people. Australian culture is such that they always they have the respect to all the citizens who are coming around all around the world, and also they include everyone, and then there's equality, and most important thing is there is they are willing to change. So therefore, when somebody moves into Australia, they don't feel alienated. They would feel they are part of the system. So that's what Australia is. We selected Australia as a destination to travel most of the students. Now majority, their main aim is to go to Australia, study and sometimes work. You know, that's the aim of many Sri Lankans. Therefore we selected Australia for this amazing experience that our previous students and the future students can have.
Right, Doctor. Other than the experience, what do you think are the main features that the Australian curriculum is offering for our students here in Sri Lanka?
Australian education system, if you look at it, Australian education system is based on few criteria. One thing is the inclusivity. So they would include everyone. There's no one left behind. That's the story. And then they have a holistic education. It's not only an academic delivery and assessment. At the end of the day, they make sure the behavior of the student would change. So they create world-class graduates, and we call it global citizens. Why global citizens? Because you need, there's no more local problems now. The COVID is an excellent example where it started with Wuhan somewhere in China, and it became a global pandemic. So the 21st century graduates will have to face more than COVID maybe. So they should be able to gear to that. And then the standards that they adhere is world standards, and they are job ready. Once you get a Australian qualification, you need not be only restricted to Australia. They can go to anywhere in the world and work. That's the beauty of that, and I should congratulate Australian cricket team for winning the T20 World Cup. That was the latest achievement that they had.
All right, Doctor. So, can you tell me why IIHS thought that this would have been an advantage to introduce it to the students here in Sri Lanka, and what are the capabilities that IIHS had to do this?
Yeah, IIHS was in the industry for well over 20 years, and we through our international university learner platform, we have been delivering highly complex, much complex than A-level curriculums, world curriculums in Sri Lanka. And we have worked with international standards, and the key features that IIHS have is that to deliver international programs at the world standards at an affordable cost. And we have transformed the students who come to us to a world standards. They did not have all of them, they did not experience any shock. Now typically, many of our students who are going out for tertiary education, they will get a shock. There are two shocks that they will get. One is the academic shock, and second one is the cultural shock. So those we managed to overcome those because we transform them within the programs. Therefore, IIHS is quite capable of doing this. That's why we went to secondary education in order to set standards and give the opportunity for Sri Lankans who are going out of the country for tertiary education to reach their maximum potential.
Doctor, how did you get the initial idea of introducing ISWA to IIHS?
The whole the background to this is the gap that we seen in our secondary education, current secondary education, was at the international secondary education. Because the programs all that are delivered in Sri Lanka more teacher centric, and then hardly use any technology, and there is not much change in the behavior of the student. And we have this habit of if we get something, we Sri Lankanize it. So irrespective of the world class curriculum or whatever, we try to do that. That would kill the original the idea of this curriculum. So that's why the previous shock that I told you, you see that shock, and then that kills the potential that the kids are having to have the many opportunities. But if you are trained properly, they go to the tertiary education, they would do well, and then they achieve their targets. Then the world is open for them. So what we thought, having a few discussions with Australian government and Western Australian education system, we created this, and it is supported by currently the Western Australian Education Ministry, and as well as closely supported by the local High Commission, Sri Lankan Australian High Commission, and the Austrade.
Right, Doctor. So what are the set advantages you would say that students can gain by joining IIHS and doing this ISWA course? What do you think that they can benefit by doing this?
Yeah, it's a very important question, where the ISWA is International School of Western Australia, and we are going to start the curriculum of grade year 11 and 12, the science stream, because we are a science organization background that we have. So if you start with that, and then it includes the human biology, the biology, they can select either of them, and the mathematical methods, English, and chemistry and physics. And the key features in this is that it's a more learner-based learner-based education, where the most important thing is the marks are given as they go on. The 60% of the score is given during the program, and the final year, which is in the year 12, they only get 40%. So then last minute cramming and getting through like a parrot is not going to happen here. So that would, you forget, suddenly if you study something overnight, next day morning after the exam and you ask, that's all our experience is that, so you can't remember anything. So then you don't get the real knowledge. And the other thing is it's an Australian curriculum. WASE, Western Australian School Curriculum, is the one that we are going to deliver. And there's a standard authority in Western Australia. They would be monitoring all this. And then our staff that we recruited, all them having a master's qualification. So then they have a better understanding, and we have trained them. And the Australian flavor to this program is given by Mr. Carl Jones, Miss Glenda Whiting, and Monica Armstrong, all Australians. And we hope that many Australians would give that flavor into this. And it's a totally learner-based environment. We are very flexible. There's more responsibility in the student to inculcate the knowledge into this. And it's very affordable. So there's no tuition because everything is done within that. And there's curricular activities are there and the co-curricular activities are there. The beauty is that we have IIHS has these student bodies. They can participate for those and then gain extra behavioral change for them to be ready for the world.
Right, Doctor. Let's continue the discussion right after this break. You're watching Business Best. We'll be back soon.
In 2021, the Sri Lankan international education landscape changes. What happens when Colombo's most innovative educators deploy the best of Australia's high school curriculum? The International School of Western Australia. Be life prepared.
Welcome back to Business Best. We were in discussion with Dr. Edirisinghe, who is the CEO of IIHS and the Vice President of ISWA. Doctor, previously I think in the segment I had to interrupt you prior to going to the break, but I think you have more advantages to tell about ISWA, like how beneficial it is for students to join IIHS and do follow the curriculum of ISWA. Doctor, you can continue.
Yes, of course. This particular curriculum is delivered in a form of hybrid mode. So there is a lot of work around the practically. They have to go and visit industry, and then there is a face-to-face as well as a digital. The total delivery is quite different to what we have seen here in Sri Lanka. And then the working with the student committees of IIHS. So we have the scientific committee. So scientific committee organizes all the conferences, and then they organize the research forum. Now tomorrow we are having a research forum which they are going to publish about 230 publications. That's the highest ever. These are all organized by student scientific committee. It's said, so you slowly but surely get this leadership and scientific knowledge, and to think scientifically and analytical knowledge, all that will come in. And then there is a student council. The student council is slightly different to the other government institutes. These councils are positive councils. And then they would do, what they do is they organize events. They organize student events, they organize community engagement projects. They go out there and do some of the projects which, go to some students have gone into mining, go into a mine and check the oxygen concentration of the miners. They go to Vedas and go with Vedas and do that. All sorts of stuff they have done. So there's a lot of fun because they go out, they get together, and their leadership qualities coming in, team building qualities coming in, and they become very confident after coming to school in that. So this will also inculcated in this. Then there is they call a MAD society. MAD is music, arts and drama. So this society is important because we always, when you do curricular activities, it always push you into a very corner, in a very tunnel vision, because all your left brain is stimulated. But the right brain has to be stimulated to get these ideas, artistic ideas, concepts, thinking outside the box. All that is important for today's world. So this that particular committee would encourage them. You need not to be a singer because it's in you. It's an opportunity that is given to them. And then we have a sports committee. So that would organize all the sports events, and without disturbing the co-curricular activities, they also support them. So those advantages are there. The most importantly, once you study for year 11 and 12, the final exam is conducted by the Australian Standard Curriculum Authority. So once you get through that, you get a score, which is called an ATAR score, Australian Tertiary Admission Rank. In Sri Lanka, there's a similar thing called Z score. Likewise, then all these graduates of ISWA will have an Australian rank, even if they are there in Sri Lanka. So what is the advantage of having an ATAR rank? ATAR is, now it is recognized by many Australian, almost all the Australian universities and another 160 universities all over the world, USA, UK, New Zealand, wherever it's recognized. Now, when you have an international rank, it's easier for you to get into a top end of professions. Like if you have over 95% score, you are eligible to get into medicine. It's very difficult to get into Australian medical programs, but many are thriving. But this is an opportunity for you to do. Get into, like the range is immense. Now since we are starting science-based ones, there's agriculture, nutrition, sports science, you name it, biotechnology, all that is there. So there's a massive spectrum of areas that they can do. Thirdly, they are eligible for the similar advantages and the scholarships which is given for Australian students. So that is I think by the end of the program, there will be many Australian universities waiting to capture them, because they're very comfortable, because it's a ATAR rank. There's no confusion among the standard of the students. So that's the beauty of this ATAR score.
Right, Doctor. I think we are reaching the end of our program as well. As my final question, when are the intakes happening for ISWA and how can students enroll?
Yeah, ISWA, the first intake will be about, we have about 30 seats. We are starting in January 2022. And then the entry qualifications are 5 B passes in O levels, in both streams, the national stream and the international stream. And if they don't have 5 B passes, they can sit for an orientation program, 3 months, and then come back. That's the inclusivity that they have created. And then the 5 B classes should include mathematics, science and English. Once they do that, then they are eligible to move in. We have an interview process, and we do a certain amount of tests before they come in. It's not to discard them, but to know who the learner is. And then I would invite all of them, the parents and the students, just to come and have a chat or visit our website at iswa.edu.lk, that iswa.edu.lk. And then our facility is just next to the Kerawala-Pittiya Inter-Exchange. It's very easy to come there and have a chat with our staff and get to know. And I think there is always a potential in all Sri Lankans, and Sri Lankans are not second to anyone. So it's the potential has to be given. We have to give an opportunity to take out the potential from them. So and then become the global citizens.
Right. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining our program again. I hope to see you again once IIHS introduces something new again. And I also wish that students will enroll into ISWA and gain a lot of knowledge from this program as well. Again, Doctor, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
And that was our episode today on Business Best. We will be back again next week with a brand new product or service that will benefit you. Thank you and good night. I'm Suzanne Shanari. See you soon.
In 2021, the Sri Lankan international education landscape changes. What happens when Colombo's most innovative educators deploy the best of Australia's high school curriculum? The International School of Western Australia. Be life prepared.